Lions just recovered a fumble.
Bits of wisdom.
It's Harry Houdini, I'm pretty sure.
That's when it kind of becomes Home Improvement After Dark.
I guess that leaves us at the question of the week.
Very good. I don't know if you noticed, Jordan, but a really cool aerial shot of the table. Reasonably funny.
User review.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Home and podcast time.
That's right, a company that would never call Benford Tools a poop head is proud to present a home improvement podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan. Jordan, I'd never call you a poop head either.
I'm pretty sure you would, but, our audience doesn't know that, I guess.
I may not call you a poop head, but I did call you out for quite a few yawns already in our pre-recording, and then you responded with, I haven't yawned at all, which was just a flat-out lie. But we're not here to talk about... Well, we are here to talk about truths and lies. In this week's episode.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, True Lies, isn't that a movie by him?
Yeah.
We'll get to that later, though.
We'll get to that later. Or maybe we won't.
We'll see how it goes.
How's it going this morning, Jordan?
It's going all right. I, went for a run, stuff like that. I did not yawn that I'm aware of, but I'm waiting for you to produce the evidence, much like
I think you have to just ask yourself, why would I lie to you about having heard you yawn? That's really the question I want you to let soak in and think, like, what do I stand to gain by telling you that you yawned if you in fact didn't?
It just totally seems like something you would do.
If I'm going to lie about something, it's going to be that.
Probably. The man who cleans by just moving things around in circles, he does very strange things.
We're off to a hot start here.
Yeah, we are. Let's dive into some recent... You were talking a little bit about an interesting film that you were watching this morning while I was yawning.
Yeah.
And I'd like to hear more about it. It sounds like you've got some interesting things to impart on about the film.
Yeah, I have quite a few interesting things to impart. So I this morning woke up, drank some coffee, watched this episode again, took some notes, and then it was about 8:30, and I thought, well, I told Jordan we were going to record at 9, so what am I going to do over the next half hour? And I decided that I would look to my television, find out some movies, or look at some movies I'd bookmarked, and then I went back. I chose Arnold Schwarzenegger's film The Sixth Day from the year 2000, and it has a 41% on Rotten Tomatoes, not very good. Roger Ebert gave it 3 out of 4 stars. That is pretty good. Although Roger Ebert, he likes Home Alone 3 better than the first 2 Home Alones. So that's always something you got to remember when you're talking about Roger Ebert.
And he was pretty mean about Jungle to Jungle, if I recall.
Yeah, that's less of a problem for me, but so The Sixth Day is it is a dystopian film, and I only watched 20 minutes, but there's some pretty good stuff going on there. So, are you familiar with it at all?
I'm not. I just Googled it, and I see some really interesting pictures.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that Arnold Schwarzenegger... It's a movie about cloning. So it opens with, like, a bunch of, like, it opens with, like, a Bible verse, which is, like, you're in... When a science fiction film opens with, like, biblical verse, you know that you're in for some heavy-handed stuff moving forward. So it opens with that. And then there's some information on cloning. And basically, cloning has been... banned? It really isn't clear, but it does end with cloning is banned. So then,
cloning humans is illegal.
Yeah, cloning humans is illegal. That's a good point. So we open with a football game, like a professional football game, but it's the XFL, and it's the actual XFL, like the WWF football league, which apparently they thought was going to be around for a long time, but was in fact not. So it's an XFL game, and it's really, like, cheesy, and there's a couple of sideline reporters, and they're, like, talking about this quarterback, and they're like, yeah, a lot of pressure for this guy. He's the first $300 million quarterback of all time, and it's, like, the XFL. The coach, like, has a really big laptop on the sideline that he's holding in one hand. He's, like, typing in it, and he's typing the words, and it's showing up on the, like, and we cut to the quarterback, and it's showing up, like, in his helmet, and it's, like, it shows the play, and then it says, watch out for possible blitz. And then he runs the play, and there's a blitz, and the quarterback is hit very hard and presumably paralyzed. Then we cut to, do you want me to just go? This might take an hour.
Yeah, you might want to just
okay.
Give me your like overview thoughts.
Okay.
Now.
We go to Arnold Schwarzenegger at home. He's dating the mom from the Santa Claus, Tim Allen, or that's not dating her. They are in fact married, and he has a daughter. And he's about to have sex with his wife, and then he goes to shut the door, and the daughter comes in, and presumably the door slams on his erection. So that's a big laugh. Not for you, apparently.
I don't understand what's happening.
And then we find out it's his birthday, and his name's Adam, just like me, so I thought that was interesting. The daughter,
you're really able to put yourself into this role?
Yeah, for sure. The daughter does a thing that kids often do in movies where they want to make like dinner or breakfast for their parents. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I feel like that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, Dad, I made you breakfast. Well, she makes him like this gross cereal, and he takes a bite and he spits it out. There's a lot of like, man, I've only gotten through like 4 minutes. I gotta move.
I can't believe you're talking this much about the movie The Sixth Day.
There's a lot of like the refrigerator tells him that he is out of milk, and he clicks a button on it and he orders more. So that's kind of futuristic. What else happens?
You better hope that I don't recount the whole movie of The Circle.
Him and Michael Rappaport,
talking about that.
Michael Rappaport of Bill Simmons podcast fame, they operate they charter like helicopters together, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is the best pilot they have.
Sure.
Did I mention it's Arnold Schwarzenegger's birthday? That seems to be important.
Oh my gosh.
They charter stuff, but they have an important client. While all this is going on, Arnold Schwarzenegger's dog dies, and like the wife is like, "Hey, you got to go get this pet cloned. I don't want our daughter to be sad." And he's like, "No, life is fragile. She needs to learn that things live and things die." And the woman's like, "Yeah, but not today. It's your birthday." So he has to think about that. Michael Rappaport and he have an important client that is set to go on their. He's set to go on their helicopter. It's played by the guy that is the president in Scandal. I've not really watched Scandal. His name's Tony Goldwyn, and but Arnold Schwarzenegger says that he has to go to this pet cloning place, so Michael Rappaport is going to take him out instead. And that's really basically where I stopped. I skipped over a lot of stuff, but for the sake of time, you did. For the sake of time, I guess I will cut it off.
For the sake of time, if any of our audience is still listening, we can move on, I guess. I was gonna say I'm looking at the box, of what the DVD would look like or the Blu-ray, and it looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger is getting his eyes checked out at an optometrist.
I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, so for his work, they're doing drug tests. It's a lot's going on in this morning. They get drug tested. So first they do a poke and do a blood test, and then they do an eye test. But I suspect that the eye test is going to come back later, because Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to get cloned. I mean, I'm certain of it. I saw a picture 2 Arnold Schwarzeneggers, so and that's better than one in a lot of ways. So
Definitely.
That's The Sixth Day. That's the first 20 minutes or so. It's a 2-hour.
And you're gonna keep watching?
Yeah, for sure. It's a 2-hour-long movie. So maybe at the start of next week I'll do the remaining hour and 40 minutes and kind of let people know what I saw. But very intriguing so far.
Wow. What do you know what Bible verse it was? That was up first?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't. No. All I recognize with regards to that is that this movie is going to be very, very self-serious.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't know if it they at the start of the Bible talks about first day, second day, third day. I wonder if
it's not that one. No.
Oh, okay. It's deeper.
Yeah.
Deeper cut.
Yeah.
Wow, really interesting synopsis of the first few minutes there.
Mm-hmm.
Really did not expect that much detail, but it sounds like
I told you I wanted to talk about this, so I'm
glad you brought it up.
Yeah, you had to figure out something to say.
Yeah, it sounds like it might change your life.
Yeah, it might. Yeah.
You might start cloning pets and stuff.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do want to finish the film. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I was gonna. You said that movie was set in the not so far away future. Is that how it presents itself?
Yeah, it says the future ... closer than you might think. So it's wow, is that true? I mean, I'm scared. I'm skeptical.
But a movie I just saw even though I knew it was going to be. It had poor ratings. Also set in the not so far away future is The Circle, starring Emma Watson and Tom Hanks. So I went to see that, just knowing I liked quite a few actors in it, and figured, why might as well just spend $7 on it, or whatever the movie ticket costs. So I was definitely disappointed, even though I had my expectations pretty low. Mostly because I felt like they had a lot of good things in place. I thought it was a poignant film for the time. Like, it talks a lot about privacy and all the cameras and social stuff and blah blah blah. All the stuff that I feel like is conversations that we're going to be having soon. And it doesn't really make a great stance on it. The actors, like Emma Watson, she plays the main character, and you're kind of in her shoes. But I really never know what she's thinking, and she kind of bounces back and forth on that side of the line, whether complete transparency is good or having some sort of semblance of privacy is good. And then she ends up saying that transparency is best, even though like her best friend dies because of it. So a lot of the motivations and decisions made in the film I don't quite get, but it did have good actors and it was a good idea. I just think the execution was pretty poor. So
all right,
I don't know. I hope that you don't feel that way with The Sixth Day.
Well, let me tell you something. Rotten Tomatoes has The Circle at 16%, and as I said, The Sixth Day is a 41%. So The Sixth Day is more than 2 times as good as The Circle.
At least that's how that scale works.
I never wanted to see this. Kirsten, my girlfriend, was quite excited about it, but I was able to kind of wiggle my way out of seeing it each time. I think as the reviews got worse and worse, it was easier to kind of say, like, maybe we skip this one. Tom Hanks is great, but he is not, even he is not immune from a stinker. I mean, he's churning out movies like this and the Dan Brown Da Vinci Code sequels like it's nobody's business. So for every good Tom Hanks movie, there's maybe 1 or 2 bad ones as well. So, yeah.
Yep.
So a couple more things on the six. No, I'm just kidding.
Please, let's move on to something else. You've got probably some wisdom to impart apart from.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I've already kind of done that, but I'll do some Tim Allen related wisdom. So Jordan, do me a favor and cue those grunts.
Sure, it's all safe to me. Oh no! Oh, yeah.
Now it's time for Bits of Wisdom.
This week's bit of wisdom comes from www.brainyquote.com. I have to get a license to drive a motorcycle to protect myself and the people around me. I am adamant there should be some sort of licensing required to have children. This has been your bit of wisdom. Poignant.
True.
They're always poignant. Suppose. I mean, it's much more poignant than the...
Yeah, when you go to www, you might even throw in an extra W brainy quote in there. Seems like you get more applicable quotes than in his books.
It's 4 W's.
4 www.
Yeah.
That's a special website, extra W.
Do you, totally nail on the head there, right?
Yeah, I don't know. When you have a kid and you're not ready for it, that kind of affects that person for the rest of their life and perhaps their relationships and their kids down the line. So he's playing the long game there,
How so?
Because he's thinking long term.
Yeah, good. What are we covering this week, Jordan?
We're covering X Marks the Spot, episode 46 of the Home Improvement television show. This one's written by Daryl Campbell. This is the only episode he's going to write. He also wrote 4 episodes of the critically acclaimed cartoon show Timon and Pumbaa.
Oh, wow. I thought I saw that this was written by him and Billy Ryback.
Yeah, co-written by Billy Ryback, too.
It took 2 guys to write this, which is...
It sure did. It's kind of like there's... Two women that are prominent in this episode, 2 writers.
Yeah, it's half of a Billy Ryback joint.
Yeah, so, and the sad thing about this is that we won't get Billy Ryback for like 6 more years.
He doesn't come back for a while. He used up all of his good ideas. He had to go exist in the world, and then come back with some fresh ones.
I think he got a promotion. Now he's a producer.
Yeah, yeah, you're probably right. We got a synopsis here?
Yeah, I was also going to say aired April 14th, 1993. There's no plot keywords. I don't know if we want to come up with them or not, but
nothing for us to click on. Let's come up with one each.
Cub Scout banquets.
Edgewood.
Perfect. Any alternative titles before we get in?
I mean, you know the answer's yes.
Yeah. I just.
I'll start with my better one because the I don't know. So my first one. So the title's X marks the spot. My first one is X's and oh no.
Oh man, I was thinking along the lines of that, but I couldn't come up with one. So well done there.
Thank you.
Yeah, we talked about how we both did some Google searching to kind of come up with some interesting ones, and my search failed miserably. So my first very poor one is an unexpected neighbor.
What?
That's what I told you. It was terrible. I told you before we started. This is by far the worst that I've ever come up with.
Why did you put the Why did you seem to really kind of the unexpected? What's the? Are you doing like
expected?
Okay, good. Glad I asked. Unexpected neighbor. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, it's not.
It's not good.
It's not that good. This one's really bad though.
Okay.
It's not even funny. Okay. This is a play on another title or another sitcom's use of titles. The one where Tim acts rational and everyone else is a piece of shit.
No doubt a Friends title.
On the classic Friends title.
That's
template.
Pretty good.
Thanks.
That's pretty good and very accurate. I would say this second title for me definitely reflects how I feel about the idea of having your ex-girlfriend and your now wife be friends. It's called a Dumble date.
Dumb. Yeah. Yeah, yours are a little lower brow for you normally.
Yeah. It's everyone has an off week, and this is mine.
Yeah, those are obviously. Kudos to you for coming up with them. I forgot last week, so you did put the work in. Yeah,
I wouldn't call what I just did work, but they're there, and they're things that people now had to hear, unfortunately. So let's move on to the synopsis. Luckily, it's short, a lot shorter than the 6-day synopsis you just gave me.
Of the first 20 minutes.
This is written by Anonymous, so the hackers are back at it. They're watching Home Improvement. They've got things to say. So Tim runs into his high school girlfriend, Stacy Lewis. When she meets Jill, Jill is upset when she finds out that Tim never told Stacy that they were through.
About sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, there we go. So we're going to open on Tool Time. There's some dirty siding on this house. Again, they just have these giant props that they're bringing into the Tool Time stage. So the not Home Podcast. That'd be weird if the Home Podcast logo was now.
That'd be sweet.
That'd be awesome. I'm going to superimpose it on an episode. The Home Improvement logo flies down and lands on this ledge and coolly lands against the window. But then Al opens it up and he falls through.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that there are, as we've said before, there are issues behind the scenes because Al kind of lets the logo fall and doesn't even extend a hand to try to help it up. So, I think it's continuing to be sort of an issue. Just too many macho prima donnas behind the scenes just fighting over screen time.
Yeah, it almost looks like the logo broke its leg when it made that landing on the ledge.
I think I read something on IMDb about the logo breaking its leg in that shot, so it's funny you say that.
It's under the goof section?
Yeah, it's not a funny goof, but a goof nonetheless.
No. I also noticed that there's like a picture of Tim's family in the house. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't.
It's everyone sans Tim, so interesting placement of the picture there. So they're going to talk about painting this house, the Tool Time salute to stripping, and you can imagine there's going to be some good jokes here. So Tim pulls down, I guess like what you would think of as like a pinup picture into the window, and it's an early attempt at photoshopping, I suppose. There's a sultry picture of a girl, and then Al's face is covering the woman's face. And Al, embarrassed and flustered, tries to get rid of it by pulling down like it's one of those like shades that flips back up. There's another one underneath it, so Tim really did some work here to get a couple of pictures. And Al says cut, and he walks off the set. He's had enough.
Yeah, the first time he did it, I didn't think it was funny, but the second time, I was more in on the gag. I think
I was not ready for it at all, so I definitely laughed.
The second photo was like was better, was like more quality in terms of the photoshopping. So I don't know. I think that probably played a role as well. But yeah, the first time, no, I saw it coming a mile away. Second time, yeah, maybe I was a little surprised. But yeah, this is the Tool Time opening continues to be very popular. But this sets up nothing really.
No, there's not going to be any stripping later on, unfortunately. So
not that we saw.
It's true. So later, after the opening credits, we're at Big Mike's Tavern. It's been a long time since we've been here. I can't really remember the last episode we were here. Do you remember?
Oh man, Big Mike's. No, I really can't. I don't know if it would have been the Ernest Borgnine episode. But
I feel like they've been there one other time since then with like the K&B Boys maybe or something.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's the one where Tim says he's going to come home and it's like an anniversary or something and he shows up really late.
Yeah. He's whipped or something and blah, blah. Yeah. I thought I don't know if you were listening, but there's some really romantic elevator music in the background that's playing at Big Mike's. I thought that was a bit strange.
Well, Big Mike's it's a sexy place.
It's a sexy place. Yeah. It's got some sexy music and some sexy people. Al and Tim are there getting lunch, I suppose.
Just getting beer and pretzels.
Beer and pretzels. Al goes to get more pretzels, I suppose, and on the way back, he notices this woman standing at the payphone, and she's staring at him, so he waves, and she waves back. We find out, Tim turns over, and I think Al thinks she's into him, as we'll find out later she is. And Tim turns around. Turns out it's Stacey Lewis, his ex-girlfriend from about 20 years ago in high school.
Yeah.
What are the chances?
Slim to none.
Slim to none. So he goes on to talk a little bit about how they broke up. Apparently he didn't call her to tell her that he dumped her.
Yeah, Tim, it's the original example of someone ghosting someone else. Tim is supposed to have, he was 18, 19, he went away to college, they were together. And
met Jill,
he met
right?
He met Jill, and he was supposed to have called her and broke up with her, but he didn't, so he just kind of ignored her. And Tim feels bad. Tim feels bad about it, and everyone really wants Tim to feel bad about it. But we'll talk later about whether or not it really makes a whole lot of sense. But yeah, Tim ghosted her essentially. Stacey comes over. Yeah, Stacey comes over. She spots Tim. Tim is, not wanting to talk to her. He wants to avoid the whole situation.
I do not blame him at all.
He understands that it's not going to be pleasant, so he does everything he can to avoid it. But Al's a real piece of garbage in this one. In this whole episode, I counted the number. I counted the number of things that Al did in this episode that were just really, really lousy. So, example one, Al asks her to join them, which is like okay,
a terrible move.
It's just not Al's. It's not Al's call. He's not supposed to be. It's just not. He shouldn't have any say. But I think he is attracted to her, so he kind of wants to get her at the table. So he asks her to join. They talk. Stacey's moving from Ann Arbor to Detroit, which no one has ever done. It's quite the opposite of what a person.
There must be some extenuating circumstance that we don't know about here
of what a person would actually do. No one moves from Ann Arbor to Detroit. She just got divorced. It's an awkward scene, essentially. She is moving to Edgewood, which I didn't look up. Did you?
I looked up a lot of different things, and I found a lot of different
subdivision.
Yeah, so there are neighborhoods in Livonia and Dearborn, which it might be. There's also an Edgewood Avenue in Detroit, so I guess maybe the one in Livonia, since he lives in the suburbs, right?
Didn't we hear? Yeah, I feel like they said earlier on he lives in like West Bloom. No, that's too rich for them. I feel like we heard what specific suburb he lives in, but I imagined Edgewood as just being like a subdivision or a neighborhood or something. But
yeah.
But she's moving there. She's looking at a house there, and Al suggests that they all get together, or that Tim and
great idea, Al. Great idea.
So that's Al's second piece of garbage.
There's decision. One good thing that Al does in this episode. He lends them a helium tank later. That's
the only thing that's good. So Al suggests that they go over there. And she says, no, I can't. I have something to do afterwards. And then Al says, why don't you just stop over for a minute? That's the third thing that Al has done that is not helpful. There's like a continued joke throughout this episode where it's like awkward silence, and then they'll say like each other's names, like You know what I'm saying? Where it's like...
so like I would say Adam, you would say Jordan, and then if Arnold Schwarzenegger was here, he would say Arnold.
God, I wish he was. There's 2 versions of him in the 6th day, so either one I would accept. And then, basically she leaves and Tim he chews Al out and chastises him. He says, like, why would you do that? Like, I don't want to meet. And he kind of explains everything. But yeah, it's Tim's funny in this episode. I really thought he was funny.
Yeah, I think he's good. I was also gonna say she doesn't know about the Tool show. People in Texas know about it, but somehow she's not privy to the information. I think she would probably like research and try to find all about what Tim's doing.
It's the early internet. There's just not a lot out there.
Yeah, not a lot out there. So, yeah, we move on. This is basically what the episode's going to be about, unfortunately. At home...
Disagree! Fortunately. Funny.
Well, I guess so. I just feel bad for Tim in this episode. But at home, Jill is working on blowing up some balloons with the aforementioned helium tank that was lent by Al. Apparently there's going to be a Cub Scout banquet, so...
Big month for Mark. Huge month.
Big birthday, Cub Scout banquet. Really, he's not in either episode very much, but things are happening for him outside. Also, karate, right? That was recent, too.
Yeah, it's been just a very
whirlwind.
Mark-centric season, which is probably why it hasn't been that good. Why does Al have a helium tank? Is that something people just have?
I don't have one. Do you have one?
I don't think so.
You're not sure?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I moved a couple months ago, so I'm not sure if it made it or not.
You used to have one, it didn't make it in the move?
Yeah, it's possible.
I don't know. I don't know why you would... I would just go to like the store and buy the blown up balloons instead of doing it myself. But hey, if you've got a friend who's got a helium tank, then I guess you take advantage, right?
Especially with Jill talking about last episode, just how hard it is, being a mother and working. It seems like she'd maybe want to, cut a corner
outsource
here and
this?
just buy them.
Nah, this is the Cub Scout banquet. You cannot cut corners for that.
They'll know. Were you in the Scouts at all?
No, my dad was.
That makes sense to me. I was in it for like 2 weeks, and my parents basically told me like, hey, maybe you don't do this anymore, because I think that they just like hated going to all the meetings and stuff. Too involved
for them.
Yeah, I think
they're really hands off.
They didn't like I think they didn't like the other people involved, so they just were like, hey, you know what? Maybe play baseball this summer instead.
That's
I was
good
only
choice.
in it for like 2 weeks, but
Did you learn anything? Did you get any badges?
No, I wasn't in long enough to get a badge. Are you kidding me? I was there. I think
you have always been a quick study, so I just figured that you would have been raring to go.
I think what happened was they were talking about like a Pinewood Derby, and my dad was probably like,
I'm not interested.
I can't build a car.
They would have had your dad announce the Pinewood Derby, and he was really not interested.
Yeah, he's like, I don't do anything pro bono. Sorry, guys.
All right. So Tim comes home while Jill is blowing up these balloons. Tim starts to help a little bit. Jill asks how his day went, and she's kind of probing a little bit. And she knows about Stacy because Stacy called the house and asked, she said, I want to take you up on your offer. Tim doesn't initially
Tim didn't even offer.
No, Al offered.
Yeah.
Tim doesn't mention this conversation ahead of time, so Jill kind of has to weasel it out of him. Tim is caught off guard, and so he swallows helium, and he's basically becomes defensive with his high voice. I don't know why, but this stuff always gets me.
The helium,
stupid
helium humor?
Yeah, helium humor.
Hashtag helium humor. Yeah, it is something you see fairly often, but I didn't mind it.
Yeah, it was fine. It worked well here. Jill asked her to drop by. Jill asked Stacy to drop by.
Everyone's plotting against him. It's so stupid.
And I wrote why in all capital letters. This is a terrible idea.
It's so stupid. We have Tim, who is objectively the dumbest person on the show, being the only one that is seemingly making the right decision. He's like, this doesn't need to happen. I don't want anything to do with this. But for everyone around him is just kind of bullying him into submission. Why does this need to happen?
Be friends with your ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, that's said no one ever,
Let's all hang out together.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Terrible. Such a bad idea.
Yeah.
I asked my wife what she thought of this premise, and she said this is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
It's the worst. So
it is. It's stupid.
Yeah, I don't I just don't understand why this is happening. The boys come down. They were on a hunt for his yearbook to find Stacy, and they did find it. And apparently Stacy was a babe in high school.
Yeah.
And they find like her note in the yearbook, and it's got some good information on it. She calls Tim her love muffin, which is really good.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
And well, I like that Brad calls him his love muffin later. Yeah. So they really latch on to the love muffin name. Door rings. Stacy's at the door. Just day keeps getting worse for Tim. Really
bad day. I mean, everybody's giving him crap. I mean,
he's getting the business.
The boys are just like taking him to task. It just very much felt like a witch hunt.
It's not going to get better.
Yeah, it's not going to get better. No.
She comes in. There's some introductions to the boys. Mark asks if she ever kissed her dad. And
Mark, you stupid piece of... God, Mark. Such an idiot.
Go outside, kids. And they go outside.
Before that, like, as she's walking in, Jill is kind of like off to the left she's sort of posing almost, like she's trying to look...
putting her arm on like the counter really weirdly.
Yeah, she's trying to look like sexy, I guess, or like classy, but I don't know what she's trying to pick up Stacy? It was funny. I liked it. It was good.
Yeah. It's good acting by her. Mm-hmm. Jill's putting on a show. They do introductions, and then like the tension is just palpable. They're sitting there. They do that name thing that you just talked about, where it's like Jill, Stacy, and then Tim says Tim. It's the same thing as the first scene,
like where it's like three people together. There's a lot of silence, and they do the name, and it's just terrible. It is as awkward as it probably would be in real life.
Yeah, it's true to life. Mark yells from outside. There's some bad things going on out there. Jill says to go out there, but he is apprehensive to leave them to talk behind his back. I would not want to leave. Well, I would want her to leave, I guess. But yeah, so Tim has to go outside. Brad is sitting on Mark because the lawn chair was wet. Whatever.
Yeah.
Mark runs. Well, first of all, Tim says, "Don't let him sit on you." Like Mark could stop that from happening.
Yeah.
Seems like a strange thing to chastise him for.
He's probably just sick of dealing with it every week. Yeah. He has to deal with this. I think Mark.
Well, maybe deal with Brad's more than Mark. I don't know.
Jordan, Mark's in karate now. Why can't he defend himself?
Is he? I haven't seen any signs of that.
Well, we didn't hear he quit, so
that's true. Hard to know what's happening.
I'm going to assume he's in karate the whole series run until I find out that he quit. So.
Okay. It's not going to explain a lot there. So Mark runs inside. He calls Brad a poo-poo head, and the chase ensues. Randy's left out there with his dad and teasing him, and they spy on the two ladies who have moved to the couch, and they are talking and laughing. They must be telling embarrassing stories about Tim. So
yeah, Tim says that, he doesn't think anything is, everything's okay unless they are laughing. And they kind of walk away. And then they do start kind of cackling. And then he and Randy jump back to the window and watch again. It's kind of funny. Next scene, we cut inside after the commercial. The ladies are laughing, and they're laughing hard. Jill asks...
They're finishing that Polly want a cracker joke.
Yeah, I mean, that is funny. Jill asks if Tim used to make noises when he walked by like hardware stores, and Stacy says that he did, and then she kind of does her impression of a grunt. Jill feels... What does it say? Jill says she feels awkward about what has happened. Jill brings up the situation, from in the past, which is like...
a terrible idea.
Yeah, it just, again, like, no one It's been... How many?
20 years.
20 years. Like, Jill says that she feels awkward about what happened. No, you like. Do
you think about it all the time?
It's so stupid. Also, like, Jill. It's set up earlier that like Jill wouldn't like go out with, or she wouldn't be Tim's girlfriend unless he broke up with this other girl. Jill is not. Her hands are not entirely clean here either. Like. I think if Tim has to feel guilty about this whole thing, then maybe Jill should feel guilty too. I don't know. Like, it's just like. She says, like, I feel bad about what happened all those years ago. And, like, then eventually Stacy says that Tim never called her, and it's even more awkward. It's just, it's terrible.
Are you saying that her hands should be dirty because, like, she was into Tim while he was dating someone else?
Yeah, I mean, like, everybody's I don't know. I mean, I don't feel real strongly about this, but, like, in the wake of like...
You don't feel real strongly about a Home Improvement episode?
No, I just mean about that specific statement because like I guess I just feel like if Tim is going to be made to feel bad this whole episode, and Jill's going to say things like, I feel so awkward about what happened, it's like, hey, Jill, maybe, like, assess your role in the whole thing. Like, Tim has to feel bad because, like, he didn't call and break up with this girl, but, like, Jill knew about the other girl at the same time, so, like, I don't know.
I guess it depends on how far their relationship went before, before this was brought up.
I don't know.
And that's something we don't know.
And we probably will never find out.
Just like Mark's karate career. So Stacy needs to go. She's got to meet the realtor at the Edgewood house, and Al shows up conveniently now. It's his helium tank, like we said, so he's picking it up. He asks about which house she's going to see, and he knows the exact one. Gives her some advice, and then he offers to go with her just to check it out.
He's a real, it's a real creep move, if you ask me.
Yeah?
I don't know, kind of. He sort of just forces himself along with her.
She's into it, though.
Yeah, but not... Yeah, okay, but not at first. She's into it because he's, like, really...
Because of Jill. Jill says that he knows everything there is to know.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, check out the foundation might be bad. Maybe I should go with you. Jill says, yeah, he's really great. I don't know, just Al's real annoying in this episode. He's real wishy-washy, I think. But
wishy-washy?
Yeah. She does eventually. Al breaks her down enough, and she says, yeah, go ahead. So Al leaves, Stacy leaves, and Jill. I
think they, by the look in her eyes, there's instant chemistry there.
Not according to him. Jill is pleased with herself because she is once again fulfilling the role of matchmaker. I hate everyone in this episode besides Tim. I really do. I think everybody's so I just, like, all of the characters and their actions are just ugh. It's the opposite of the 6th day, the first 20 minutes, where I was really happy with everybody really into it. I like this episode, but everybody was just really getting on my nerves.
They're grinding your gears. So they leave. Jill starts in on Tim right away. He never called her, blah, 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 blah. She talks about how women need closure, which is apparently why Stacy's around now. I don't know.
Who could possibly care? Like,
get
really,
over it. It was 20 years ago.
Are you really? She must love to fight. If she's fighting with him about this, she must love to fight, because this has no bearing on anything. Tim didn't want Stacy to come over. Tim is not being particularly friendly to Stacy. Everybody, outside forces are really coming down hard on Tim, and it just is. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Free Tim. Hashtag helium humor.
All right. What? I wrote down something that makes no sense here. We might cut this out, but please tell me if this makes any sense to you. Tim says they need to beat it together. He goes on his stand-up about ramps.
No. That doesn't mean anything.
What the hell does that mean?
Would you have a seizure at that point and your hand just kept going? They need to beat it together. And he does stand like beat off.
No.
And then they go. He does a stand up about ramps.
No, I have no idea what this. I was gonna say maybe this because I reused the same documents for episodes and stuff, and I was wondering if I didn't erase
some of that classic Tim Allen ramp humor. The thing about ramps are once you go up one.
What's the deal with ramps?
I tell you, ramps get no respect. It's just the fence scene is next.
I know. I just don't know why that's here. I want to know what happened.
What's the deal with ramp? I love ramp humor, though. I'm the real, like, I mean, a lot of people do, like, they do Yo Mama jokes, but I love Tim Allen's ramp humor. It's just cutting.
That's what, but it was, it was so cutting that they had to cancel Last Man Standing.
It was so cutting that they cut it out of this episode, and you're the only one that saw it.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just like Stacey Lewis needs closure, we're going to close this episode, and we're going to move on to the next scene. This is our Wilson scene, and before we talk about it, we're going to play a clip.
Morning, Wilson. Hi-ho, Tim. I got a problem. No kidding. Jill met my girlfriend. Well, I can't say that I approve of that. No, my old high school girlfriend. Oh. But she's kind of annoyed about something I didn't do 20 years ago. A sin of omission.
No, it wasn't that bad. When I broke up with this girl, I never called to tell her.
So you lied to her?
No.
Well, according to Robert Louis Stevenson, you did. He said the cruelest lies are often told in silence.
But didn't Calvin Coolidge say nothing he never said ever did him any harm?
Very good. Thomas Mann once said, a harmful truth is better than a useful lie.
Not bad. But wait. Turkish proverbs was, he who tells the truth will be chased out of 9 villages.
Excellent. But I believe the final word would be Haywood Broun. For truth, there is no deadline.
Oh, that's 3-2. You beat me, Wilson.
So why didn't you call the girl, Tim?
Well, I was afraid that if I called her, she'd start crying and I'd feel bad.
Well, sometimes, Tim, when a relationship ends and a person cries, they aren't just tears of sorrow, but of liberation.
A woman needs closure.
Exactly.
Jill said that yesterday.
Smart woman.
Yeah, she is a bright woman.
All right. So we start out learning that Wilson likes monogamy because he doesn't approve of Tim saying that his girlfriend met his wife. At first, I'm sure he's joking here, but he talks a little bit about the lie, and then they kind of spar back and forth with quotes about whether, omitting some information is okay or always telling the truth is okay. So they bounce between Robert Louis Stevenson and some other famous quotes.
I think Tim's been taking some night classes at
where did he get all this? Well, I mean, he quotes like some monks or something, I think, too. I don't know what he's reading or where this is coming from, but yeah, all of a sudden he knows.
It's a real tit for tat in a way that it never is. But yeah,
it's very confusing.
Yeah, they go back and forth. There is no real speaking of closure, there's no real closure to this fence scene. Basically, like, Wilson thinks that
sometimes tears are tears of liberation. And somehow that equals women need closure.
Sometimes. But Tim just continues, like, everybody's making Tim feel so bad. And even Tim is, like, starting to feel bad. And I just want to say, like, Tim, it's okay. It's fine. I don't really think it's that big of a deal.
I think Tim needs to hang out more in the garage this episode. Just get away from it all.
Yeah,
lock the door,
everybody's
work on the hot
coming
rod.
down on him. When you're 18, as children,
you make a lot of dumb decisions.
Yeah, and this one is just I would imagine. I think people do this fairly often, especially when you're young. Certainly not anything you need to feel bad about as a verging on 40-year-old man. It's quite all right. I would say you don't. Yeah, it's kids are inherently selfish, and young adults are just looking out for themselves. So yeah, I don't know. Everybody just was making him feel so bad, and I was just wanted to go there and just say, Tim, it's okay, man. It's okay.
But we can't. Instead...
No, we can't. I know.
Tim goes inside. Stacy is on the phone with Jill. Apparently, they have become confidants at this point and best friends, soul sisters. I don't know.
A couple of golden girls, friends and confidants.
So she's telling him about how, that little, I guess, foray into the housing department was with Al, and then they got drinks afterwards, and she's interested and really enjoyed it. Apparently, they're going to get lunch.
She's thirsty. She's thirsty. I want to do while you're pausing. Stacey Lewis is played by Kathleen Garrett. 51 credits to her name. Interesting career. She was in the film American Gangster. She did voice work in the Friday the 13th remake. That sounded interesting. She played a judge on Law & Order. She was in Celebrity Deathmatch as Annette Bening, and she was in a show called Baywatch Nights, which, sounds like a Baywatch spinoff about just the PM part of the beach. So that's her career.
Not a lot of beach scene in the PM. Because, it's closed, so they gotta go somewhere else.
It must be Miami nightclubs and stuff. But yeah, Baywatch.
Yeah, varied career. It is
interesting.
Really interesting.
Celebrity Deathmatch. Did you ever watch much of that?
I did. I kind of liked it, actually.
It was pretty. I remember thinking it was pretty raunchy. Or
yes.
Yeah, it was pretty. I never watched that much of it. My parents probably didn't want me to. Much like The Simpsons.
I felt like half the time I didn't know the people on there, so it wasn't as entertaining.
Yeah.
But when it was people I knew, I tried to pay attention.
Very violent. Yeah. So that's Kathleen Garrett. That's Jill's new BFF.
Yeah, I guess Karen's gone and Stacy's in.
Yeah, I know Karen leaves in the finale of this season. So yeah, but I also know that Stacy doesn't come back for any episodes. So Jill needs a new best friend.
It's gonna be you.
It's gonna be me.
Back into the scene, they basically decided to go on a double date.
No, it's not they. Jill basically decides.
Well, Jill decides this is a great idea.
Yeah, but they go to the place where all double dates presumably should go, and that's Big
Mike's.
Big Mike's, ambiance, Stinkies. They weren't just there yesterday. And it makes sense on many different planes.
Why wouldn't you go there? The free pretzels, probably. That's what it looks like.
Jill must own stock in Big Mike's. Like she's she's invested some of her money, so she's got something riding on it.
Yeah, I guess so. So they move on. This is presumably happening in the morning. First thing that Stacy does, she wakes up, she calls Jill.
I'll call my ex's wife. That's what I want to do. Get my coffee, make my eggs, call my ex's wife. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she does. I wonder how she got his number.
I don't know.
I guess look up in the phone book.
She got it right away. Because she called before. Oh, I don't know. Stacy's weird, man.
She sure is.
She's really a weird person.
Jill is infected by the weirdness. Actually, everyone is.
Literally, everyone has been infected by this flu of character. And, as I've said, and I'll continue to say, Tim's getting the brunt of it.
He sure is. So we're moving on the set of Tool Time later that day. This is pre-show, so nobody's there besides Tim and Al. No producers, no nothing. Al is late. Apparently, he was watching Bob Vila do some information on glue guns.
They're setting up this Vila finale because
they sure are.
They're really setting up this Vila finale episode as if last time we saw Bob Vila was whatever where he gets hit in the head with the lumber, and then no Bob Vila talk until this episode where we get a couple of references, and then we'll see him again in the finale. So
just shove it in at the end,
That's what you always say.
Sure do. All right, so Tim says they have lunch plans, and Al is initially excited, but then he learns that Stacy's going to be there, and all of a sudden he's not interested in going.
We're on the Tool Time sets, and yeah, as you noted, Al is late because Bob Vila was doing a special on, I forgot.
Glue guns.
Glue guns, very interesting.
I just said it.
Yeah, I had forgotten.
You were worried about muffles.
Yeah. There were some technical difficulties. So somehow this whole double date plan has transpired without Al ever having any awareness of it. So Al's there, and Tim says that we're gonna go double you, me, Jill, Stacy, and Al is not interested. He said, we went out last night, we had no chemistry. It was like talking to my sister, which IMDb says Al doesn't have a sister. So fun fact there. But he doesn't want to go out with her, but he also doesn't want to tell her because he is not wanting to hurt her feelings or something. So that is the fourth lousy thing Al does this episode. He doesn't want to tell her.
He's basically Tim 20 years ago.
There are some very, very obvious parallels to be drawn there, but he doesn't want to tell her. He's busy.
He did tell her that they would get lunch together.
Yeah, he already committed to it, but he's not going to tell her that he doesn't want to now. He asked Tim to do it. And Tim's like, no, man, come on, I don't have to do this for you. Everyone is letting Tim down this episode. And then Al just storms off. It kind of reminded me of I don't know. In fifth grade, I remember I had a fifth grade girlfriend, whatever that means or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah, man. Is this how we're podcast after dark or what? No.
Can we drop names here? I want to know.
Sure. Yeah, I don't care. In fifth grade, I had a girlfriend went by the name of Kelsey Straight. Do you remember? Do you know her?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And I don't know. We were fifth grade boyfriend girlfriend.
I also had a fifth grade girlfriend.
Yeah.
So.
What was her name?
Katie Fenner.
Nice, bro. Yeah. But I think I decided one day I don't know. I don't want this to I don't want it to be.
You don't want it to take over your life.
Yeah, like,
you were just you had a lot going on at the time.
I'm mayor of Box City. Are you kidding me? You think I can be tied down? So I had friend of both of ours and friend of the podcast, Kyle Mans, like go and like break up with her for me. So
no.
Yeah, it's not a good thing to do, but like also I don't feel bad about it now, you know. But this is what this whole thing reminded me of. Like Alec runs off and he's like, "Hey Tim, clean up my mess. Tell this girl I don't like her." But the difference is I was 11 and Al is 35. So
yeah, a little bit of a difference, I guess.
Yeah.
Katie and I actually never hung out while we were dating,
no,
so I'm
me
not
neither.
sure.
No.
Not sure what type of. It was a very short relationship, mostly facilitated through Allison Lechner.
Yeah, through notes and friends, right? That's just kind of how it goes. I don't even really remember talking. Specifically,
I remember like one phone call, but it might have been like
I assuredly made no phone calls. I don't even think I had a number.
I think again, Allison instigated this phone call, and we just happened.
It was a three. Was it like one of those three-way calls? You know.
I think they were both in the same room, and there was a little bit of handing the phone back and forth. But yeah, it's fifth grade girlfriends. They just never last.
Yeah, well, that's the truth. And I tell you what, hopefully your wife doesn't listen. She's gonna be steamed.
Yeah, she is. That's what she didn't want to hear about this at all.
She's gonna be steamed, man. This is awkward. No. So yeah, basically Al runs off and leaves Tim to clean up the whole mess.
And we go to Big Mike's, where the mess will ensue.
Big time Big Mike's episode here. They're in there twice.
Twice, yeah, right.
Once,
mentioned
twice,
like 40 times.
3 times a Big Mike.
Well, I have notes in here that they went 4 times, but I don't know if I can trust my notes anymore.
I think you according to your notes, you watched the episode, had a seizure, and then just like kept writing things down because a lot of. I think we'll probably end up editing it out, but there's been a couple times in here where your notes just didn't make any sense.
Sometimes I just daydream and start writing. We're taking that fiction class together, and it's really gotten my imagination going.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Tim shows up at Big Mike's, and he's wearing a really cool coat. I liked. It's like a Letterman jacket, but without anything on it. I would wear it. Tim sits down and he immediately lies for Al. He says that Al couldn't come because he is cleaning up after tool time or something. Or he's setting up for tool time. And yeah, Stacy is, she's like, oh,
she's bummed.
That's too bad, but whatever. At least my feelings aren't hurt. So, but then Al shows up, and he must have left 10 seconds after Tim did. Really quick turnaround. He shows up and he said, I'm so sorry to have Tim lie for me about the whole thing. I didn't mean to put Tim in an awkward position. I just didn't want to go out with you. I didn't feel the chemistry. And instead of like everybody getting mad at Al or behaving in a rational way, everyone immediately says that Tim is a coward and that like that it's Tim's fault. This whole thing is Tim's fault because he didn't immediately come and say, "Hey, Stacy, Al doesn't like you." That's not Tim's position. Like, I don't get this. It's not Tim's place to have to do this. Like, Tim is trying to spare feelings. He doesn't want to get involved, so he doesn't. He just like makes up an excuse. That seems like a reasonable thing to do.
Honesty is the best policy. That is the mantra of everyone in this episode besides Tim, I think. And it comes at whatever cost. It doesn't matter.
That doesn't.
So
yeah,
I'm not saying it's a great motto for them. But I think that's where they're going with this. And
but like,
yeah,
would any person in Tim's position show up and say, "Hey, Stacy, I'm really sorry, but
she's
like,
not. Al's not into you.
Al just doesn't like you. He doesn't think there's any chemistry. He just like didn't want to go out with you, and he didn't want to call you. He wanted me to do it. Like, no one would do that. Like, it doesn't. And everyone is like, Tim, you're such a coward. Tim, you haven't changed. Tim, you're a piece of shit. But like, it's just like, is he? I mean, why aren't people getting mad at Al?
I don't know. I just Al's so lovable that he could never do anything wrong.
Al's really lovable in this episode.
Tim's the scapegoat from scene 1. Oh my
gosh, yeah.
And he will continue to be that. I wanted to note that Stacy is really broken up by Al's admission here that he wasn't into her. Like, she went on one thing with him, and she says it's awkward. And I thought it was really funny that she thought this situation was awkward, but the whole rest of the episode she doesn't think is awkward.
It's
Come on.
But also like, it's awkward, but Jill says, "Come on, guys, we're all adults.
Let's just sit down and
have lunch." No.
For the 100th bad idea of this episode.
Yeah. No, let's not sit down and have... Are you kidding me? Al should be leaving. Stacy should be leaving. Maybe Tim and Jill stay there to have a stinky... because, like, they don't have anything really riding on it. But, like, no, you don't want to sit down and have lunch together. Gross.
That's a bad...
Terrible.
It's a bad... Billy and Darren, I believe that's the co-writers, that just... They were just basically, like, writing characters as if they could not tell lies and just made a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah, what is this? The antithesis of Pinocchio? Come on. Jeez.
Tim's nose is out all the way to the bar at this point. All the lies he's told.
Yeah,
so.
all the terrible lies.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
So they start arguing about Tim, like you said. Tim and Jill go to get drinks, and Jill is chastising him again. Somehow the situation is quickly diffused by Tim kissing on her neck.
Yeah, which seemed out of character for Tim.
Yeah, in public, and Jill likes it right away.
Yeah, Jill likes it. There's nothing
melts.
that some neck kissing can't fix, I guess, is the moral of the episode.
They hit it really well, though.
Yeah, it was kind of well hidden. So he kisses on her neck, and all is well. And then the next scene has nothing to do with the episode
with
at
anything.
All. Plays no bearing on anything, and doesn't really work chronologically, right? I mean, it's like, when would this have happened? Is this later on? Is this earlier? Like, where does this fit into the last day, do you think? Or is this just something they had in the can?
It would have had to have been after show, but it seems more pre-show, like the conversation that Tim and Al had before.
Well, I guess we should set up. So Tim walks out to an empty Tool Time set with a nail gun, and Wild West music kind of plays.
Weird. It's like a James Bond Western music, because it's not quite Western.
Yeah, it's jazzed up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little jazzy.
A little jazzy. Tim turns a dartboard around. He has a picture of Bob Vila, and essentially it's like a showdown. You know, like who's going to draw first. Tim shoots a nail gun in Vila's direction, hits everything except him. Al is there, and Al says something about, a good shot. Tim throws the nail gun into the garbage because he blames it on that, and then the nail gun goes off, and they both run away. There's no mention to Stacy. There's no mention to anything that happened in the episode. Just Tim shooting a nail gun at Bob Vila sometime in the last day or so, I guess.
However, the ending credits pop out of that trash can that they threw the nail gun into.
Didn't notice that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So yeah, just like you said, just I guess setting up, reminding us of the rivalry between Bob Vila and Tim Taylor.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then we get some bloopers with Stacy. I guess all the four adult characters, and they're just cracking up.
They're cracking up. Al is taking the helium tank and being silly, I suppose.
Being silly, clowning as Al's want to do.
He's clowning.
Roll credits fade to black. X
marks the spot,
or as you called it, was
the Dumble date.
The Dumble date, or X is in. Oh no! So yeah, that's this episode. Jordan, highs and lows.
Highs and lows. I'm gonna bounce back and forth because that's what I like to do.
Yeah, you kind of you rebel against the format of highs and lows.
I go high low high low.
You just sort of talk about the episode as a whole.
Yeah, overall thoughts is what I do. I would say. Yeah, I don't understand why everyone's acting so weird, but I guess the good thing about the last couple episodes is we do see Tim as, like, somehow, like, if you're a rational viewer, you're seeing Tim in Much Ado About Nana and X Marks the Spot as, like, a normal human being who is making what I would say are the normal choices that most people would make. Like, he says, just talk to your mother about stuff, and the last episode and this episode, it's, I don't want to have my ex-girlfriend hang out with me. And this thing that happened 20 years ago really shouldn't be this big in my life now. And so that makes sense to me. So you're painting Tim in a different light than, like, the dumb, bumbling, klutzy Tim Allen that always does stupid things to his wife. So I guess in that way it's good. Other highs, I guess they do a good job of, if you want to make something awkward, like the first scene when Stacy meets Jill, I think they do a really good job of making the tension feel palpable, and then the awkwardness at the end is very awkward. So that's written well. Other than that, it's always good to go back to Big Mike's Tavern. No mention of Stinky, which was disappointing. And I don't understand everyone else's motivations in this episode, which is my biggest low. So there it is. That's what I
thought. Okay. I like this episode. I thought it was funny. Trying to think why. Tim, I know.
You really liked.
I thought it was funny. I just have to. I think Tim throughout. I like Tim's responses to things. Like we've noted a couple times. Like Tim's the only one acting rationally here. So as you said, it's always good to see that as your protagonist is relatable in some way. But yeah, I think Tim is funny. They do a solid job of the awkward scenes. It is awkward. I was watching this and kind of feeling nervous, which is I had actual emotions when I watched this. I was kind of cringing, which is pretty rare for an episode. Sometimes I have emotions.
Usually you're stone faced,
or it's usually just
cold.
Why are they doing it? It's usually me just shaking my head this is stupid, or why are they doing it? This is not funny. But in this one, the tension was palpable. I guess you would say. In terms of the other characters, I think they're pretty foolish and behaving in a way that people probably wouldn't, but it serves the plot well. I like the Big Mike stuff. I like, even though Al was garbage, it was good to have. It was good to have Al around, even if he was kind of spineless and useless. I thought it was funny. I kind of enjoyed watching. I thought it was a better effort than a lot of season 2 episodes. In terms of, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we talk about how Al doesn't get a lot to do in a lot of episodes. He definitely had a lot to do in this episode.
He had a lot to do, I just didn't necessarily like it, but it was good to have him there. Lows, everybody else's behavior, I guess. It's sort of nonsensical, just in terms of everybody wanting the ex-girlfriend to be around, and the Jill and Stacy getting buddy-buddy kind of thing wouldn't happen. Al being kind of spineless is a little annoying, but in general, I got some good laughs here, and yeah, I found it to be a roller coaster ride of thrills and delights. So there you go. Put it on the poster.
Oh my.
Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna go up there.
Yes.
Wow, interesting. Okay. And I suppose let's go ahead and talk social media.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So if you want to reach out to us, we'd love to hear from you at thehomeandpodcast.com. Feel free to reach out to us via email at homeandpodcast@gmail.com. Facebook, we're at facebook.com/homeandpodcast. And Twitter, we're at homeandpodcast. We recently released a preview of the Jungle to Jungle episode. If you want to go ahead and get the full episode, I think it's 90 minutes of our recap, you can go ahead and donate at patreon.com/homeandpodcast or at our website, which I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, download numbers were pretty good on that. Thus far, donations to listen to the episode, not been so hot. So, hey, we recorded a full hour and a half.
Take that extra step and listen. It's worth it.
Yeah, you only heard 20 minutes. And if you like that 20 minutes, then there's 4 times that amount, for the cost of a cup of coffee.
And it only gets better.
Sure. All right, so on Twitter, a couple of tweets here. So I did 2 polls. First one, did Mark have fun at his 8th birthday? 15 votes. 20% said yes. Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about. 20% said no. And 60% said, was he even there? Which is a fair question. Other poll, 2-poll week. It's a good week if it's a 2-poll week. Mm-hmm. Do you watch Last Man Standing? 43 votes, Jordan.
Wow. Did that get retweeted by people?
Don't know. 33% no, 67% said yes. So presumably more than half of our fans do watch Last Man Standing, which, as we were going to talk about at the beginning, but we didn't have a lot to say. People are in arms, or they're up in arms about it. There's petitions going around. Tim Allen was quite surprised, and so on and so forth. Also,
Tim Allen fans are loyal.
They are loyal. Another Twitter happening I want to talk about is at Sasha Wilder 7. She tweeted at Home and Podcast throwback to episode 32, and then there's a link to a Reddit post where she said, funny people of Reddit, what's the best joke you can come up with a punchline, quote, and then the parrot said, forget the cracker, I want a lawyer. So that's referencing the episode where, what is it? It's Mo Benford is at the house, and like we cut there and she says that and everybody laughs. And there's a couple. You
came up with a good explanation. If I recall.
It was very, very long. You thought the 6 day talk was long. That was perhaps even longer and less interesting. But yeah, there's a Reddit thread and there are some people responding to that. So yeah, check that out. And thanks Sasha for soliciting responses. We hopefully we can get a definitive answer.
Did you post our link on there for the answer to that question? Because you have an answer.
No, I'm not much of a Reddit guy.
just post the link. Say, hey, listen to minute 32 for my answer.
Reddit's kind of a dark, weird place. I prefer to stay out of there. So, yeah, at Home Podcast, if you want to get a hold of us or you have any questions or anything like that. So,
yeah, we like to stay in the light. Speaking of which, your question of the week always brings a joy to my heart. So let's hear it.
This week's question of the week pulled from HuffingtonPost.com. 101 fun and interesting questions to perk up your boring gatherings. We're on question 60. Yeah, 60.
Seems like we've done them all.
Watch it. Question 60. Very simple. If you could pick a new name, specifically a new first name, what would it be and why? I added the why. I feel like when you're like young, you're always like, I hate my name, I want to change it to something else. Like I feel like I thought that quite a bit. Like
I've always liked my name.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to come up with another first name if you had to.
If I had to, and I have to right now. I don't have a choice. Mm-hmm. What about Turd Ferguson?
Jordan, you take this seriously or we're done?
We're done. You know, in Spanish class, we had to pick a Spanish name, and I always liked Javier. Okay. I don't know why. It just sounds nice. And I don't know that it fits my personality, but Javier is the way I would do.
Or your general ethnicity.
Maybe that would give me an air of mystery when people read my name.
I think it would give
Javier Leons.
I think it would give you an error of mystery. So Javier, that's what you're going with, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Javier. It just seems right.
Cool. Mine would be probably Duke, I would say. I always I think I just like the alliteration of Duke Deets. When I was in college, I took a college class. I think it was my junior year, and it was like a history class of like 30 or 40 people in a classroom, and there was no one in there that I knew. So the first day of class, I decided that I wanted. We went around. You do the sheets where it's like your name. What do you want to be called? And I put that I wanted to be called Duke. And the rest of the semester, the professor called me Duke. And then I saw him around campus later on one time, and I was with a friend, and he called me Duke. And a friend of mine was like, "What is this guy talking about? What is going on?" And I explained the whole thing. So yeah. Did you
like it? Did you like when he called you Duke?
I loved it. Yeah, it was great. Really fun.
All right.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, he said Duke. How you doing, Duke? And I said, real well, prof. And that made me want to be a teacher. Yeah, just solidified that fact, that interaction. So, this is great.
Wow.
So I'd say
Duke changed your life.
Yeah, Duke. And that was a good semester. Boring class, but it was fun to have people call me that.
That would make it memorable just that way.
In earnest, yeah. They thought that was what I wanted to be called. So yeah, I would have to go with that. Yeah.
That's one of the better questions that we've come across, I suppose.
Yeah, here's another one. What's your favorite smell? No, I don't want you to answer it, but what's your favorite smell in the whole world? That's question 50.
So a little preview of what's to come when we can't think of any other questions.
Perchance. Next week we are covering to build or not to build. And I can't wait for the IMDb trivia that says that is Shakespeare related.
That is the episode. So thank you, Duke, for just another wonderful episode.
Always a pleasure, Javier. I guess I should say thank you for listening and take care.
Take care, everybody.